Mike home for the night, and it happens to be Thanksgiving weekend. That's why the kid in the car is wearing the headdress. He was an Indian in the Thanksgiving Day program at the school. And when they discover that Big Mike, or Michael, has no place to spend Thanksgiving, no family, no relatives, no friends that he can go to, they extend the welcome through the weekend, and he stays with them through the weekend. And then just through conversation and dialogue, they discover that he's actually, in fact, homeless. And so the Tuohys set up a bedroom for Mike. He gets his own room. For the very first time in his life, he gets his own bed. And at long last, over the course of 2 years or so, this incredible bond forms between Michael and the Tuohy family. Until they get to the point where the Tuohys ultimately extend an invitation to Michael for them to be his legal guardians. Watch this.
Michael, we have something we'd like to ask you.
What?
Well, Leanne and I, we'd like to become your legal guardians.
What's that mean?
What it means is that we want to know if you would like to become part of this family.
Kind of thought I already was.
Well, all right then.
Now, you need to know a little bit about the Tuohys to appreciate this movie. The Tuohys are sports fanatics. Like, they're totally into college sports, professional sports. And so if Big Mike's going to kind of feel at home in a place like that, he's going to have to kind of resonate with that. And so they hook him up with football. And with a little bit of coaching, Big Mike becomes an outstanding offensive tackle. Becomes an outstanding football player, offensive lineman. And also the Tuohys are very concerned about grades. And because Michael never developed the study skills growing up, they actually hire him a tutor who can help him to develop his grades to the point where if he would so desire or get accepted, he could go to college after high school. And by the time the Tuohys are finished with Michael, he graduates from high school. He gets offers to no less than 12 different colleges on football scholarships. And after graduating from football, he gets drafted into the NFL. He signs a 4-year contract. This formerly homeless boy signs a 4-year contract with the Baltimore Ravens worth $13.8 million. And it's a story that sounds too good to be true, except in this instance it is true. The Blind Side is a true story. It's based on a true story, a true family. Now, most of us are suckers, I think, for stories that involve a down-and-out person, an underdog who rises above barriers to become a raving success. In fact, we have a name for stories like that. We call them Cinderella stories. And in every way, The Blind Side is a classic Cinderella story. And as I was reflecting on this week, I came to the conclusion that I take our love of Cinderella stories as evidence that you and I, most people, in fact, we love Cinderella stories because we'd like to see these happen more often. We'd like to see them happen more often in everyday life. I mean, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't it be great if stories like the one featured on The Blind Side weren't 1 in a million, needle in a haystack occurrences, but these happened each and every week? Wouldn't it be even greater if you and I got to be part of making Cinderella stories happen? Imagine the deep down joy and contentment the Tuohys have every day when they think about where Michael Orr is at these days. Imagine how they feel when they drive by the projects of Memphis, where many homeless people hang out, where the saying is that 0 kids from the projects get out. Imagine the satisfaction they have knowing that they're proving statements like that to be false. Imagine what it must be like for the Tuohys each time they watch the Baltimore Ravens play a football game and they see their son run out onto the field, line up in the offensive position in order to guard the quarterback of the team. Deep down joy and satisfaction. But rather than imagine, I would like for you and me to live in the realm of reality. Because here's the really great news, in case you missed it. If this actually happened once, then it can actually happen again. And so if we can determine how it happened that once, then by God's grace, you and I can be part of making Cinderella stories happen in Cambridge, in our neighborhoods, in our families, in our world, in Haiti, and anywhere God puts our vision. So how did this Cinderella story start? What was the spark that kind of set things in motion where Michael Orr and the Tuohys were concerned? Well, having reflected on it, I think the spark that kind of set things in motion was Mrs. Tuohy voicing two simple words: turn around. She said, turn around. Remember the night of the Thanksgiving Day play at the school as they were driving home? She noticed something that didn't resonate. Something didn't add up. She saw a young guy, utterly alone, underdressed, walking in the freezing rain. And it registered for her. Something clicked. Something appeared to be wrong. This person may be in need, she thought. Now, granted, you and I don't see people in need every day. In fact, sometimes we don't see people in need for a whole week or maybe even a month. But all of us have and have had the experience of seeing someone in need. People in this church family, people in the city of Cambridge, and then beyond as well. This is not a unique experience to Mrs. Tuohy. It's something that we all have. And so my first question is here. She notices, do you? She notices, do you? And now that she's noticed, she's got a decision to make, doesn't she? And it's a decision that can go one of two polar different ways. Between saying, turn the car around, and actually pulling up alongside this person walking down the road, she can start to rationalize things in her head. And she can kind of rationalize her initial impulse away. She can say, forget about it. It's late. SJ, our son, he's hyper. He's up way past his bedtime. It's Thanksgiving weekend. I've got lots of preparations to make for family and for celebrations. My cell phone is ringing. It's raining. What difference can I make? Do I really want to get involved? She could have said any one of these things and more, but the fact is that she didn't. Instead, she followed her instinct. Instead, she followed her gut. She took a risk. She acted courageously. And so when they neared the place where Michael was walking, she instructed her husband to stop the car. And I think that generally this is how the Holy Spirit works. Somewhere inside of us, in our gut perhaps, or our conscience, the Holy Spirit pricks us or gives us a nudge or an inkling of an idea. We notice something registers. But here's something else I've noticed, is that generally when the Holy Spirit does this, we're unprepared. We've got something else on our agenda. We're going somewhere or doing something, and so it's kind of like an interruption in the forward momentum of our day or our life. It's like a pop quiz. How many of you had teachers that gave these dreaded things? Anybody? Nobody else had pop quizzes except me? Oh, a few of you. All right, I hated those things. I was the kind of student who did my homework mostly. Really? I did. And but here's the reality. It seemed like every time I didn't do my homework, the teacher said, pull out a sheet of paper. We're going to have a pop quiz here. I'm like, how did they know, right? And I felt like saying, and I think I did say this a few times, like, teacher, tell me the day the report is due and I'll have it on your desk, even in a nice do-a-tank, right? Tell me the day of the test and I'll be there. I'll be in my desk. I'll have my pencil sharpened. I'll have a spare and an eraser. Just whatever you do, don't throw a pop quiz on me.